I absolutely love going to this local antique mall because I always find some good stuff, but let's head there now and see what I found. First things first, I headed into my local antique mall in search of video games, where I ended up finding this Kinect Adventures right off the bat for $3, as well as this All-Star Baseball game for the Xbox Original. Where I continued on, I ended up finding this virtual headset for a phone, but obviously not something I needed, but for $5, if you were trying to pick this up, that's not a bad price, I guess. Then I saw this knockoff PlayStation 2 charger cord, which I thought was pretty interesting to see. Then I continued on, where I actually ended up finding this NES controller for only $6. Not too bad there. A stack of Xbox One games that honestly I didn't need, so I passed on those. I found a box full of game manuals, but these were all games that I really didn't need anything for. As well as these games here, they're just pretty basic, so I kept going, where I ended up finding another basic sports game, as well as a few Nintendo DS and 3DS games here in the glass case. They actually had an Xbox Original remote for $10, which is a little much. Also, this PlayStation 2 Logitech racing wheel. But even though I didn't find much there, I did end up finding all of this behind the counter, because when I went up to see what was there, they had a ton of stuff. Some of it was marked, some of it wasn't, so we're going to go through all of this, but I'm really happy that I went at this specific time, because as you can see, most of the stuff that was on the shelves wasn't really worth much or even worth picking up. However, this stuff definitely was. So starting off, we've got an NES Advantage, which is $10 here. Totally amazing. Now, yes, this is a little smoky or has faded. You can kind of tell from the side that it was a whiter gray, and now it's really kind of dark, which happens. This kind of happens whenever things are oxidized, especially with old NES stuff. So for $10, he said this thing worked, which was totally awesome. So I ended up grabbing this, but I paid $75 for all of this. He gave me a little bit of a discount. So that is what it is, as well as a few Super Nintendo games here. First off was Disney's Goof Troop, which he ended up selling to me for $15. Then we have Super Mario All-Stars, again, another $15 price tag, and Super Mario World for $15, which is totally awesome. And the last but not least, in the bottom is a busted up Super Nintendo controller and then an untested Super Nintendo console here. We're gonna have to test this out for sure, but honestly, I'm not too disappointed by this pickup. Now, I didn't get the AV cords or the power cords for the Super Nintendo, but that's perfectly okay, because finding an NES Advantage for $10 nowadays is virtually impossible, as well as finding in Super Nintendo games for this price. I mean, $15 a piece for Goof Troop and Super Mario All-Stars, as well as Super Mario World. These are some really awesome games, and games you should definitely want in your collection. And he said, hey, I didn't have time to test this thing, so it just has the wires exposed, so it may still work, but for what it is, he basically threw this in for free. And then we've got the console that is dirty and untested, so let me grab a power cord and we'll at least turn this thing on and see if it powers up.
One eternity later.
I ended up finding a third-party power cord that I had in a bundle, but we go ahead and plug it in and then go ahead and turn it on, and it looks like it is powering on, which is absolutely awesome. I love to see that. Now, yes, I should probably plug this in and test it out, but for the sake of this video, I'm calling that a win. I usually don't have problems with the output or really the card reader or the slots, so I'm going to call this a win for now. We're going to have to definitely test this controller, though, so what should we do? Should I test this in a short, maybe? I don't know what we're going to do with that. But overall, I feel like this was kind of a great deal. After paying, what, $65 for all of this, that shows that 15 plus 15 plus 15 is 45 there. And this was 10, so that means, what is that? 45, 55. That means I only paid $10 for the Super Nintendo, and he's always open with me and says, hey, this is what is wrong with this console, or hey, I haven't had time to test this, and if you want to just buy it as it is, you can, but I've bought enough from him that he kind of recognizes me, and so he oftentimes gives me good deals, and since all of these were from him, I got a great deal out of it. Definitely well worth it. I went ahead and pulled up price charting because I want to check out what all of this is worth and see if it was worth the $65. Let's go ahead and start off with Goof Troop. First off, for the Super Nintendo, I ended up paying $15 for this, and price charting is saying it's selling for around $24. Let's go ahead and head over to eBay sold listings and see if I can find how much it's selling for. About there. Obviously, I've got to be able to go down to sold listings, which takes $23, $28, $28, $24. So $25 is probably about the price, which means I saved myself $10, which is an awesome time. I love saving money when it comes to video games. Let's move on to Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo. First off, this released on a bunch of consoles, so I don't think it's worth very much. Oh, there it is. I paid $15 for it. It's worth around $20 to $21. So that is kind of what I expected on this one. Just a little bit more of savings, which is okay. I'm happy with saving $5. This one is saying 23. We've got that's not the one I got. 25, 22. So about $22 isn't a bad deal. So I saved myself $7 there. And then we've got Super Mario World underneath here. So Super Mario World. Let's see how much that's going for. There's a ton of them, so I'm going to go ahead and select it by the Super Nintendo. That way I don't have to keep scrolling forever. And there it is, $18. Okay, so it is a little cheaper, but I'm happy with that as well. I feel like the prices are all undervalued, so that is definitely worth it. I'm glad to pick these up. So let's see if we can find it. There's a 15 plus shipping though, so they paid $21 in total for that one. That one's $20, so 17, 18, 20 bucks. So it was a little cheaper, but it wasn't that crazy of a deal. Then let's go ahead and look up the NES Advantage and see what that is going for. $20, I paid $10. I'm happy about that. Let's go ahead and make sure that that's what it is over on eBay, just to make sure, because I know sometimes I talk about this and people don't like price charting, but for the sake of this video, I think price charting, 31, that's a crazy price. 23, 20, 20, 35, 30, I mean, $10 for it being worth around 20, I'm happy about. But let's go ahead and do that one last thing, is the Super Nintendo system. It is going to be probably a little bit more than $5, I would say, which is about what I ended up paying for it once the bundle. So let's see, Super Nintendo, $76. Now, I will say this is missing the AV cord and the power cord, so knock off maybe $20 there. Let's say $50. $50 for the console. I think that's pretty fair. And then we'll make sure we can see it on eBay sold listings as well. And of course, I clicked the wrong thing. There's 56, isn't bad. That's a lot cleaner, but I would expect that. That one's a bundle. I think $50 for it is probably a good place to say it at. But overall, I feel like this was an amazing pickup. All of this for $65 at the Antique Mall. I would happily pay that. I'd probably pay $100 for all of this and still be happy. Every time I go to this antique mall, it's definitely worth it. So if you're interested in finding good deals, find places that locally you can go to and find good deals. You just got to be consistent about it. You're not always going to find stuff, but when you do, you'll hit big, hopefully at some point. But I'm going to get out of here, so check out that video out if you haven't already. Would you have taken the risk on this Super Nintendo being untested? I feel like because there weren't any issues with it, it was worth the risk, but what do you think? Would you have done it with this busted controller? I'm happy with what I did, though. Great pickup here. I'm getting out of here, though, so check out that video out if you haven't already.